Dear students, welcome to another session of biology class. Today I bring to you a new topic, organization of life. Organization of life. That is the topic we'll be treating today. Before I start with the explanation of this topic, we talk about living organisms and non-living organisms in our previous video, where we talk about living organisms having high level of organization. Living organisms, they have high level of organization. So we say they are highly organized. And this organization that we are talking about in living organisms occur in steps or levels. So we call it level of organization of life in living organism. We call it level of organization of life. So there are 4 levels of organization of life in living organisms. There are 4 levels of organization. Before I go into the explanation of these levels, we should understand that biologists study living organisms at any of these levels. Molecular biologists, for instance, go beyond the cell to study life at the non-living molecular level. Ecologists, on the other hand, study populations, communities, ecosystems, and biosphere. Life exists in an original form so as to carry out efficiently the characteristics of living organisms. Life exists in an original form so as to be able to carry out efficiently the characteristics of living organisms. Every living cell or every living thing is made up of a cell or a number of cells. Every living organism is made up of a cell or a number of cells. That is, it can be a unicellular organisms or multicellular organisms. The single cell organism is the one known as unicellular organisms, while the one with many cells are called multicellular organisms. So, with regards to this, organization of life is the existence of life from a single-celled organism to a multi-celled organism with complex forms that perform different functions. So now to give or to define organization of life, we can say organization of life is the existence of life from a single-celled organism to a multi-celled organism with complex forms that perform different functions. So let's put that down. I hope you understand this definition. So that is just the meaning of organization of life, the steps involved in the organization of living organism. I said we have 4 levels of organization. Let's look at that. Levels of organization. First of all, we have the cell level, we have the tissue level, we have the organ level, and we have the system level. So these are the 4 levels of organization of life that we'll be talking about. I'm going to start with the cell, which is the smallest level of organization. The cell. We say cell is a basic functional and structural unit of life. That is the smallest and functional unit of life. It is bounded by a cell membrane containing nucleus and cytoplasm. The cell are capable of independent existence. Some cells, they are capable of independent existence and can carry out all the life activities as a cell. So that means it's not all cells that are independent, although there are some cells that are capable of independent existence. E.g., we have the cell of amoeba, paramecium, euglena, climadominans. They have inclusions called organelles, which make them to be capable of independent existence. So those are the organisms that you can find at cell level. So let's put the definition of cell down. So cell is the first level, and the examples of cell in unicellular organisms, or the organisms that are made up of cells, we have amoeba, we have paramecium. Let's move to the next page. We have paramecium, we have euglena, we have climadominans. So all these organisms are capable of independent existence and can carry out all the life activities as a cell. So what are the types of cells that are present in humans or higher animals? We have the red blood cells. That's an example of cells in higher animals. So what are the functions of the red blood cells? It helps us to transport oxygen around the body. It contains hemoglobin, which combines with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin. We also have white blood cell. White blood cell is another example of cell in the body of higher animals. White blood cells in the body of humans, it protects the body against disease. It protects the body against diseases. That is the function of white blood cell. We also have the nerve cells. We have the nerve cells. This is another example of cells in higher animals. Nerve cells help to transmit impulses. We have the epidermal cells that protect the body against infection, germs, and dehydration. We have the sperm cells. We have the sperm cells. They are used for fertilization of the egg, reproduction. We have the egg cell, which is also known as ova, that is used for reproduction. We also have muscle cells. They are cells that form the muscles and they are used for movement. We also have the bone cells. They form the bones and they give support to the body. So these are the examples of cells that we have in living organisms. We've talked about the white blood cells. We say we have sperm cells, we have the egg cell, we have the bone cells, and so on. So that is that for the cell level of organization. Is the smallest structural and functional unit of life. That is the first level of organization of living organisms. Without wasting time, we are moving to the second level, which is the tissue level. Tissue level is another level of organization of living organisms. A tissue is a collection of cells. That is collection of more than a cell. A tissue is a collection of cells that are similar in structure. Cells that are similar in structure and perform similar function is known as tissue. More than a tissue, similar tissues that perform similar function is what we know as tissue. An example of animals that exist at the tissue level is hydra. Tissue have the same origin and occupy the same position in the body of organisms. They have the same origin and they occupied the same position in the body of living organism. Let's move to the next page to continue what we are writing. So we also have type of tissues in man and their function. Just like we have tissue in animals, we also have tissue in man and their function. And the first example of tissue that we have in man is epithelial tissue. Line and protect the body surface. That is the work of that particular tissue. And we also have blood tissue. That's another example of tissue in man, and another type of tissue present in man, blood tissue. Blood tissue transport food and oxygen around the body. That is the work of blood tissue. Another type of tissue of man is skeletal tissue. Skeletal tissue. Skeletal tissue gives shape and support to the body. That is the work of the skeletal tissue. We have connective tissue. That is the one that bind other tissue together. We have nerve tissue. They coordinate and transmit nerve impulses. We also have muscle tissue, which aid movements of the part of the body, and so on like that. So that is the example. Those are the examples of tissue that are found in man or in humans. So just like we have cell in man, we also have tissues present in man. Without wasting time, we move to the third level of organization. That is the organ level. Organ level. That is the third level of organization of living organism. Organ level. Organ is a collection of different tissue that perform different function. Don't forget, tissue are a collection of similar cells that perform similar function. But organ are a collection of different tissue. There are different tissue and they also perform different function. And some organs perform only one function, e.g. the heart, while others perform many functions e.g. the kidney, we say there are some organs that perform one function, e.g. the heart, while others perform many functions, that is the kidney. The kidney have a lot of functions in our body, while heart perform just a function. Heart is the one that makes us to stay alive through the transport of blood to the heart. That is the circulation of blood around the body up to the heart makes us stay alive. That is the function of the what? Of the heart. But kidney performs so many functions unlike the heart. So that is organ. And what are the examples of other organs in the body? Apart from the kidney, heart, we have the liver. Example of organ in plant is onion bulb. Onion bulb. Examples of organ in man, let me mention that. The heart, we have kidney, we have the liver, and so on. While in plant, we have onion bulb. That is the example of tissue in plant. So that is that about organ. Organ are collection of different tissue performing different functions. And that takes us to the last level of organization, that is the system level. What is the work of the system? The system level is a collection of different organs that perform a particular function, that is just a function. That is, they all aim to perform or to achieve a common function. That is system. And examples of systems in man, we have the digestive system, that is one responsible for our nutrition. We have the reproductive system, responsible for reproduction in man. That one, we have the testes, the ovaries in the reproductive system. We also have excretory system, that is where the waste product in our body comes from. That is when we have the kidney, we have the urinary bladder, and so on. And we also have circulatory system, which aids the movement of blood or the circulation of blood around the body. Example is the heart, arteries, veins. All these aids the movement of blood around the body. So these are the examples of system found in man. Let me put that down. So just like we have examples of system in man, we also have examples of system in plants. Examples of system in plants is the root and shoot system. Let's quickly put that on the next page. That is the example of system in plants. So for the purpose of the little time we have, this is where we are going to be stopping today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed today's class. Feel free to ask questions in the comment section. See you in my next video. Bye bye.